these things happen. You know where you
Yeah.
could find out how to do things would be in a library, but unfortunately, there are some people who don't want that to happen. Let's move on to the next headline here. On 404, police body cam shows sheriff hunting for quote obscene books at the library. So this is just a few weeks ago. Um, just I feel like this is one of those things. I always encourage people to read the articles. Don't just look at the headline and the picture. This is one of those things where you can kind of just read the headline, police body cam showing a sheriff hunting for obscene books at a library, and then you just see body cam footage of a dude sitting down with a book, like reading a comic book. There's
Yeah.
something really dystopian about this because again, we've seen so much genuinely being serious for a half second, genuinely seriously horrific footage of body cams, and so I think we all kind of instinctively know what that fisheye lens. You see the two hands. Usually, the two hands are holding a gun. We're seeing them hold a library book in the library. This is unhinged. What is happening
Yeah.
here?
Uh, So I found this footage to be obviously not on the level of like a police shooting video or other things that we're used to
Yeah.
seeing. Um, but I found it to be really disturbing in like a different way, and in the way that you sort of mentioned, because it's just like this is an hour of footage. We're obviously not going to watch an hour of footage, but
Mm.
essentially there's this sheriff in Idaho, Kootenai County, Idaho, which is like central Idaho, um, where the libraries there have been dealing with this moms group called Clean Books for Kids.
Clean
And
books.
essentially, this is happening all over the country.
Yeah.
I decided to drill into this because it was like a very specific situation. It's very extreme, and it sort of highlights what librarians are dealing with, both school librarians as well as like public librarians at just like public libraries.
Mm.
But basically, it's like at every meeting, the people from this group show up and they yell a lot. And they yell about how like the libraries are pushing a communist trans agenda on their children because they have books that sometimes deal with adult themes, and their goal is to get these books banned. And they've been very successful at getting some, a whole bunch of books banned, like both in schools as well as getting some libraries to not stock them. And the types of books that we're talking about are very often books that deal with things like police violence or deal with things like child sexual abuse, not in a
Mm.
way that like glorifies them, but in like a memoir, like, hey, this happened to me, or like, this is something that you should know about. And a lot of these books are like
Like here's how to get help type stuff. You're not alone.
that. I mean, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I grew up and I went to school and I read like Night by Elie Wiesel, which was about the Holocaust. It's like,
Mm.
his experience of Auschwitz, essentially. And it's like, this is one of the books that has been banned in places. And it's like a horrifying book. You read it
Mm.
and it's like the descriptions are terrifying, and they're like, what is happening is really bad,
Mm.
but it's not glorifying the Holocaust. It was written by a Jewish writer about what his family experienced in the Holocaust. And it's like
Right.
the types of books that are getting banned are like LGBTQ coming of age stories where, someone is like realizing that they might be gay or bi or trans, and how they're sort of dealing with that as like a teenager.
Mm.
And then you essentially have like these parents, and now in this case a cop, saying like, this is porn. This is like, they're essentially saying this is porn. And in this case in particular, a cop in Idaho went to the library, met up with one of the women who runs this group called Clean Books for Kids, and he
Mm.
was basically like, show me the porn, show me the child porn. It's like straight up like what he was like, I think that these books are illegal. Please show me. And then they go and they look for these books and they like flip through them. And like the footage is basically 40 minutes of him silently reading comic books, like silently like looking through comic books. And then every once in a while, like the woman comes in and she's like, well, this isn't illegal, but I don't like it. Like they keep saying like they don't find what they're looking for, because when looking at these books, they're kind of realizing that they are not child porn. And
Yeah.
all that said, it's like he does that and then he goes to a public meeting and he like says we have to ban these books and so on and so forth, and it became a whole thing. And it's like this is the
Should we watch this? Should we watch this footage
yeah,
here?
sure.
Let's do this. This is I'm sorry. I'm just hung up on communist trans agenda. That's I know you're not like making that up. That is probably an
It's
actual
like a
literal
pretty
sentence that has
direct
been
quote.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, just also first leading sentence of this article. Sheriff Robert Norris is speaking into his body camera. Today's date is April 20th. Was this intentional? This is intentional.
I mean,
Jason?
I did include it for some scene setting, I guess, but
Okay, yeah, there we go. All
I
right.
don't think he did.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, here we go. Somebody said, let's watch it. Is this the one here?
That's probably a good one to watch.
Okay, all right. Let's take a look at this one.
Guys on a team. This is a intentionally very androgynous character. All the girls fawn for him in the beginning of the book, but it's made clear later in the book that no, he prefers boys.
So, okay, she's showing him the book. It's a literal comic book. This dude's sitting at a desk reading a comic book.
Right. Illegal? No. Unnecessary? Yes. Library. It's bigger than this, and it has a teen room that is
teen room.
It's a benefactor in the community donated the money for this big glass room to put all those noisy teenagers in there, and they hang out in there. And in front of that teen room, on a shelf that has, a bookshelf. A display was made of all of this author's books, all in one place in front of the teen room. Huh. So what do you call that, Sheriff? Enticing?
Promoting?
It's like an old-fashioned guy in the van with a bowl of candy trying to entice. I have goosebumps even saying it. It's so disgusting. So,
Yo, I'm sorry. Just to state the obvious, having a display of books in the library is not in any way equal to a guy in a van trying to kidnap children.
Yeah, and I think that is why this is so disturbing to me, is because we know from all of our work and from living in this country that when the police get involved in something, there is the potential for things to go sideways. And you have a cop with his body camera on showing up at a library, like looking for trouble, essentially. A library, which is traditionally a place of knowledge, a place where people go to, check out books and apply for jobs and so on and so forth. It's like not where you want a cop being. And it's like it's the criminalization, whether like literally criminalization or just, the cops showing up in such a way to kind of like harass and create a chilling effect of these places of knowledge. And I think that's one of the reasons it's so upsetting to me, because I'm just like, this is not his lane. And he's just there. And it's just like who knows what could happen. And when you have people in there, like saying, this is like the pedophiles with the white van, it's like you are essentially making the claim that librarians are pedophiles. Like that is essentially the argument. I don't think that they have said that directly, but that is like the implication that's being made. They're like enticing children into getting these smut porn books. It's like that is that is the narrative that they're pushing, and they're having quite a lot of success with it just because it's not a huge group of people. It's a very small group of people, actually, but they're very obsessed. They're very loud. They show up to every meeting. They make the librarians' lives hell. They're able to like get the cops to show up, and for that reason, you don't need a big group of people. It's not like 50% of the country is like, we have to ban these books. It's
Yeah.
like a tiny percentage, but they're able to like cause havoc because they've made it their like one and only issue.
Yeah, I mean, another one of these videos pulling this up. This is also pretty unhinged.
I have a photograph of a picture here. So this is pretty tall. That's 7 feet tall,
Sure.
right at the entrance, so you can't miss it. So I have a picture of a previous display that they had. You know, they usually have book covers, you know, stapled along here. There were a preponderance of demonology and witchcraft here.
A preponderance of demonology and witchcraft. And by the way, if you weren't looking directly at the screen, she's pointing to a display that said, what does this say? It says, spring showers read for hours. And it's a large poster with an umbrella, some nice flowers, some water droplets cut out of construction paper. Legit, like, I'm not sure what the display looked like before that, but I'm pretty sure the display that now has a nice scene of, you know, April showers, bring flowers, you know, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure that there was not a preponderance of demonology and witchcraft.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't actually seen the image, and I emailed this woman. I was like, "Can you send me the image that you're talking about?" And she did not send it.
Oh no!
She actually quizzed me. She's like, "What do you think of the books?" And I was like, "I don't have a problem with the books. Let's talk." Though, and she didn't want to. But anyways, yeah, it's like really innocuous stuff. It's like, I mean, I don't know if we want to watch others, but
Yeah, is there another one you think we should watch?
Well, there's this portion, I think it's this one, where she's essentially describing like a really good customer service where if you are like disabled or can't drive because you're a child, you can get books delivered to you. And she like paints this as being, you know, more plot because you can like log on with your iPad and request a book and they will bring it to you. And it's like, yeah, that's like a great service from the library. Thank you.
Let's look at this. Yeah. Is it this one?
I think it is. Yeah.
You can check out anything in here. No holds barred. You can be 10 years old and get anything out of the adult section. And with the advent of technology.
I'm sorry, adult section, you mean just like a book that was
just the library?
It's not the adult section, it's the library. Like if you want to read
the fiction section, the science fiction section, the biography section.
Yeah, like you're 10 years old and you're just really smart and you know what? Yo, I want to learn chemistry. Great.
That's the adult section. Anything that's not the kids section is the adult section.
It's just the adult section. Like, I'm sorry. I'm seeing here saying I want LeVar Burton to drop kick this woman into the ocean. We do not advocate for any sort of violence here. I will say that the image of LeVar Burton showing up and being very upset with this person, I think he would be. I think it is fair to say that LeVar Burton would not be happy with this.
Particularly since the shutdown, when so many kids were given Chromebooks, and every kid has a computer, whether it's a phone, whether it's a tablet, so they can, at home, they can log on literally with 3.
So this woman is explaining it to the cop, and we're seeing it on the body cam.
You can't drive. Say you live in Athol and you want a book that's in Coeur d'Alene. They shuttle it. The shuttle's parked right back there.
And they shuttle it.
They shuttle. And so you see that where it says checkout right there? You take the book. Here's the barcode of the book. You put it under that little wand right there next to the flat screen. You put your card underneath, click, you're out. 3 clicks and you're out. No
So there's
adult.
no
That's right.
adult supervision,
No.
staff supervision
No.
of what
There's
you're
no
checking.
adult who's going, oh, well, this isn't
Right,
suitable for you.
right.
No.
That's just the
So-
interlibrary loan system. You've
It's the-
described you've described ILL.
So that, and then also it's like, I don't know, man. You could do that about any store. It's like you just grab it off the shelf and then you take a credit card and you swipe it and then you leave. It's like, what is she? She's describing how you check out books from a library. This is how you check out books from a library since the dawn of time. Like, I don't know. Not into it.
It is that is difficult to watch. Somebody up here said, MTYYTN, what up? Welcome in. Said, as a non-American, I usually think Americans use the term fascist lightly for a lot of things, but a cop doing this shit sure looks like a fascist. I'd be worrying if he's taken seriously at the end. I mean, here's the thing: is the cop is clearly being taken seriously because he's at the library. I mean, if somebody shows up with a uniform, regardless of what you think of police, people are going to look at that and say, oh, what is he here for? Is he here to arrest somebody? Did somebody do something bad? Did I do something bad? And then if you find out, oh, he's here checking the books, we have enough, and I'm just going to say this as somebody who taught kids, it's hard enough to get people to learn to read. I will say, actually, get people to learn how to read. Like, teaching is tough. The fact that there's anybody in this library is a miracle.
Yo.
Not on TikTok, genuinely. And having a cop come in, and they may be super comfortable with cops. They may love police, but having a police officer come in and check out looking at the books and looking for bad stuff in the books, it's gonna make you feel like, hey, maybe the library actually isn't a good place necessarily. Maybe there's bad stuff in here. Just even to put that seed of that idea into a child's head, that a library is a place where bad stuff happens, where the police need to come and check for criminals and check for criminal things on the shelves.
It's just like, of
unfortunate.
all the things in this country, like the public library system is one of like the miracles. It's like we fund cops, like we don't fund bridges, we don't fund services for the homeless. Like there are so many things that we do not fund, and it's like they're using this as a commenter just pointed out. It's like there are a lot of libraries being defunded. There's a lot of libraries like cutting back their hours. It's like New York City was gonna, I don't know how it shook out, but they were gonna like close on Sundays while the police were gonna get huge increases in overtime pay and funding and so on and so forth. And it's just like, one of the things that this country largely did right was like have a pretty robust library system that does all sorts of social services besides just checking out books. And this sort of like war on libraries and the suggestion, because the cops show up, that something nefarious might be happening there, it's a tragedy. And we have seen like a few small cities completely defund their libraries as a result of groups like this.
And then I don't know where this is in the video, but we'll just take a look at this exchange right here. So there's a part where they're talking about, again, a comic book, and she, the person says, I don't know if this is relevant to you. This is a graphic novel, and the character kisses both males and females to figure out what she likes, blah, blah, blah. And the cop says, what do they call these? It's graphic novels. And he's like learning in this moment what a graphic novel is. And I think it sounds like the difficulty here is graphic as in explicit depictions of sex, but that's not actually what it is. It just means graphic as in like graphics.
Yeah. Look, I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know him. I emailed him. He didn't email me back. I don't know him. I don't know what he like actually thinks about this stuff. but it is very clear this man does not know shit about books or the library or like anything of this nature. Cause he is like, oh, please explain to me how libraries work. Does not know. Like he just does not know. Doesn't know what graphic novels are, like certainly doesn't know what manga is, and he like definitely like, was looking through a lot of manga inspired books in there. And I don't know what was going through his head. I don't know if he checked this stuff out afterwards, but he stopped for a long time on certain pages, and I'm like, this guy is like looking up hentai when he gets home. That is what I thought. Like, this is the vibe. This is the vibe. I don't know if he did it. I don't know what's in his heart. But he's like, oh, I got some ideas now. Like, I didn't know this shit existed. I got to go figure out what's going on here. That is the vibe of some of this footage. And it's like, I don't know, maybe he's just bad at reading and had to linger on some of these pages with barely any dialogue on them for like a really long time. But I don't know.
Can we go to the tape? Can we go? I need to. Where are we?
I'm not sure which clip, but
I'm gonna paste this in the link in the chat because I would like you all to do your own research, as they say. But wow, listen, man, that is an analysis. If I trust anybody to do a, what we call a textual analysis of the videos in here, you've looked at it. I would trust you to do that. So yeah, your analysis, I think, probably stands pretty well. Well, the inspiration, I suppose. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's books that were. So what is this? Books that were returned to the library system. So we've got a book called "Deal with It: A Whole New Approach to Your Body, Brain, and Life as a Girl."
So this is a whole other part. I went deep on this guy, this like situation.
Yeah,
but
clearly.
Basically, he gets 2 books that were not in that library. They used the interlibrary loan system, or theoretically they were supposed to. And he gets 2 books that he had heard about prior to going there. And he took them. Like someone took them and gave them to him. One was stolen, like not checked out. One was stolen from another branch.
And he just stole the book from the library.
And the other one was way overdue and was given to him. And there was like a news cycle in this small town after all this happened. Because after this, he like went to a public meeting and was like, I found this smut at the library. And then the librarian was like, no, you didn't find this smut at this library. You lied. You got these books after the fact. Neither of them were checked out properly. Or like one of them was just straight up stolen. You're in possession of stolen books. Give them back. Like that's what the library was saying. Like these badass librarians were like, give us our books that you stole back. And for a while he was like, no. And so there are people who have been saying like this, like a cop is knowingly in possession of stolen property, which is a crime. What's going to happen? And it's like, well, he's the sheriff, so nothing happens. But then he gives the books back, but the books, like the barcodes had been X-Acto knifed out. And that's what that image was showing. It's like, if you look, like the barcodes are cut out. And so the librarian was like, we can't return these to, we didn't return them to the shelves. And it's like, I don't know if she's just trying to make a point about how the cop did this. Like, I don't know if they could slap another barcode on there or what, but she was like, they were defaced. We're not returning them to the shelves until we're able to like properly replace them. So cop, like essentially he either stole the books or was like knowingly in possession of stolen books, wouldn't give them back. When he finally did give them back, they were destroyed. I use passive tense there because we don't know who destroyed them. Maybe one of the parents did and then gave it to him, because clearly he got them from someone like in this group or who is like in this world. So anyways, that's what happened.
It is going through. I mean, again, I've pasted this in the chat. You can read through it here. I mean, on the website, the group Clean Books for Kids, 4, of course, is the number. Lists more than 900 books to avoid in a spreadsheet. I'm scared to click that. Yeah. And then, of course, below this, we've got this picture. It sounds from one of these meetings where they've got.
So this is from a keynote speech that the woman in the video, who was like his tour guide, was giving to a Republican club of like the local town. And it's like a 15-minute presentation. It's on YouTube. I linked to it. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And that's where I say, like, they say it's a leftist communist plot. You know, she does talk about like they're pushing Black Lives Matter. They're pushing white guilt is a phrase that she uses. And so, like, of course, it's not just they're pushing gay stuff on our kids. It's like they're also pushing diversity, equity, inclusion, etc. All these buzzwords that we've like sort of seen the right use for quite some time. And it's like she doesn't bring that up with the cop. But
Right.
like that's sort of like the subtext of all of this. And then she talks about communism and how this is a communist plot to push literature on our kids and blah blah blah. It's a crazy speech.
Yeah, I mean, she's got on the screen here, got a picture with the hammer and sickle and the American flag next to it, with the subtitle, "This is about much more than books." So apparently, what's happening here, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, is the thing that she thinks that she can show is illegal is quote unquote sexual content for kids, which it's not even that. Knowing that having a book about the evils of slavery, say, isn't strictly illegal. I mean, neither is the other stuff. But if you go and look at what she's telling, people in her group, this is what they actually have a problem with. They have a problem with all of this. It's just they think they can catch a library on something that is vaguely speaking about bodies.
Right. And so in Idaho, there was a bill that was passed by the Senate and the Assembly, like both houses passed it, that would have given parents the ability to like quasi sue the library if their kids ended up with books that they did not like. It was something like $1,000 per example of kids getting books that parents didn't approve of. And the librarian, like I watched, there's hours and hours and hours of footage of like the library board of directors meeting and talking about like all this stuff. And they're basically like, if this law goes into effect, like we're going to get like people are going to use this in bad faith, obviously, and we're gonna owe tons of money, and we might not be able to operate anymore. It's like they're not operating on a great financial footing at this point. And to Idaho governor's credit, they vetoed the bill, so it is not illegal for like these libraries to essentially just operate as normal. But that they were trying to push this bill, and it's like, let's say that had passed, it's like then maybe there's a lawsuit to prevent it from going into effect because of the First Amendment and stuff like that. But like we're just like burning money on like legal fees and stuff at this point. It's just like it's messy. It's very messy, and it's very expensive, and it's just they're bogging down the gears of the system to get their way, more or less.
And of course, this has the effect is, as you use the phrase, I think it's just a chilling effect. I mean, it makes somebody not want to be a librarian. It makes somebody not want to go to the library. It makes a librarian, if there's, an issue in the community where, hey, it looks like there's, issues with some discrimination and some, race related bullying or something like that. Like kids are bullying each other and they're using words. I don't really think they know what the words mean, but let's bring somebody in to come and talk about it. Maybe I won't do this event because I'm scared that some mom or dad is going to come in and start yelling at us and making my life more difficult. I just won't do it. And then of course, as a result, the kids who would benefit from this don't benefit from it. So yeah. Samir's asking, is it a majority of the parents there that are down with this, that approve this sort of thing? It sounds like it's a pretty small minority, just a loud one, right?
It's a small group. Some of them are not even parents. Like some of them like are just older people who are there. There are people at these meetings who speak up on behalf of the librarians. It's like, it's not just people trying to ban the books. There are people there being like, please protect our libraries, so on and so forth. But when you say that, it's like there's a difference between what parents actually think and what people who on a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. go and sit at a 4-hour meeting and like talk about this stuff think. And so it's one of those things where it's like the people who are showing up are largely against this, but it's only like a dozen people who are showing up. But if you're the librarian or you're in charge of this and you're just getting yelled at every 2 weeks for 4 hours, and threatened, of course, because like they are threatening, that's not pleasant. It's not pleasant.
Cool. All right. Great to know. Great that this exists. Shout out librarians though. Shout out librarians.
Yeah, they are badasses. And it's like the head of the library here was like, pretty fearless in talking about this stuff. And I was like, how can you do this when the cops are showing up, when you have groups like this showing up, people protesting, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, it sucks. It sucks when that happens. But like 80% of all of our interactions are people like teaching kids how to read, like, teaching people how to write a resume or a cover letter or apply for a job or apply to college or whatever. And so they're like, the vast majority of our interaction with the public are amazing. And we tried to like hold those in our hearts and kind of like let the other stuff wash off of us. But I would imagine there's a lot of burnout and churn in libraries, more broadly speaking. I haven't seen the research on it, but I have to imagine people are avoiding it. Not like it's a well-paid job. It's like, yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that's happening definitely now. Well, yeah, man. I mean, speaking of war on communist ideology, maybe we can get to TikTok.